to the Reclaim Within podcast. I am so grateful that you are here with me today. I am going to be talking about something that has been, such a transformative practice in my life. And it's something that one of my teachers would call simple, not easy. It's the power of sitting with what is. And in a world that often encourages us to be moving constantly or fixing or solving or, it's just this quick pace, it can feel radical and deeply uncomfortable to simply sit with our reality as it is. So my goal in this episode is to help you understand how radical acceptance and radical responsibility can serve as a gateway to creating a life full of meaning, connection, and sacred living. So let's start off with what is radical acceptance. So it's not just an intellectual acknowledgement of what's happening in our lives. It's really a full-bodied experience of sitting with the truth, even when it's painful, without trying to change or escape it. Let me give you a really vulnerable personal experience of where I've used this the most. So I met my beautiful husband, and he has 2 children, young children, from a previous marriage. And he and I met, and it was a very serendipitous relationship. But I guess I'll start off by saying that no little girl grows up dreaming of the day that she finds this person that she wants to spend her life with and become a step parent. Like, that's not a role that I grew up wishing for. And it has required me to sit with the reality of the situation constantly. And I think that there's a lot of really interesting expectations in the external world. And then there's a lot of interesting expectations that I had for myself with what this meant. I fell so deeply in love with my husband, and we have a really beautiful, fun relationship. And being in his children's life has taught me more about humanity and our society and what it means to really, truly sit with what is, because it's been uncomfortable. For me, I have a orientation to being like hyper compassionate. I took Jordan Peterson's personality quiz, and it's like I am, out of 100 people in the room, I am like the most compassionate. I'm like number 1 out of 100, and I think that's really funny. But what that's done for me is allowed for me to see and feel other people's perspective, and I know that I'm not the dream, especially for his ex. Like, it's not, I don't think anybody would necessarily want someone else to be raising their children. For me to walk into this life and know that I'm choosing him, and so because I'm choosing him, I'm choosing to step into this role. It's required so much responsibility in a way that I didn't even know was possible. Didn't realize I could even get this radical with responsibility. It's been the greatest experience of my life, and also the hardest experience of my life. The reason why radical acceptance has helped me so much is because it's allowed me to really accept the fact that I might never be somebody that their mother likes or wants around. And that's hurtful because I just want the best for them and for her. Radical acceptance requires me to come to terms with the fact that I am not their mother. They have a mother. Their mother loves them the most. And I am this extra bonus person who is very much parenting them when they're around. I am doing their laundry and their dishes and cooking them dinner. I am actively participating in their lives in a parent role, and yet I have to get to that radical acceptance of knowing that I have a place, but I really don't like the term stepmom because I don't actually even enjoy having the word mom in my role. I wish it was like, I don't know, bonus parent or helper person or family like auntie. I don't know. Because to get to that radical acceptance place of being able to really get clear on what I am and am not. Like, these children are my children through marriage, and I love them as much as I possibly can. And I also try really, really intentionally to respect their complicated lives and the way that they're orienting in the world. And that's what's allowed me to get to this place where I feel like I get to be in the creator seat. The more I've come to acceptance of the role that I'm in and the discomfort that comes along with that role in this society and not knowing my place fully, the more I can just accept the fact that I don't actually fully understand my own role, the more that I can really step into creation with it. The more creative I can be in how I do want to show up and be a part of their lives and how big I do get to love them, without feeling like I'm stepping on toes or getting in the way or, hurting somebody by existing. So anyways, that's been my biggest practice for this tool in consciousness. I've also seen this consciousness tool be really radically helpful in relation to relationships and also in relationship to jobs or careers. I notice a pattern where people will complain a lot about the relationships that they're in or the career that they're in. And I think that a lot of times complaints come from a place of hopelessness or despair, where we don't actually fully believe that we can do anything about it. So at least we can complain, at least we can kind of let off steam by sharing our experience. But that in itself almost distorts or dilutes reality. It cultivates a delusion of sorts. And instead of getting really, really real with the fact that you're in a relationship, that maybe you're not that happy with some things in the relationship, then you can actually, once you get to that place of radical acceptance, you can actually start to create meaningful change. You can actually meet that relationship differently. You can cultivate the courage to stand up and share your needs, or to even have needs or to have desires. And so a lot of times what I'll witness people doing is either trying to move straight into solving a problem, or trying to put a Band-Aid on it, or just going to the complaining so that they can at least just let it out and then they can kind of go back to the way it is, but without truly seeing our present reality and cultivating that place of real acceptance. We're really often building on shaky ground. So what radical acceptance does is allows us to get very real with what is, so that we can truly make real change happen. Many of us, and I can say this because I'm one of us, is we live in a state of delusion without even realize that's what we're doing. We've avoided facing uncomfortable truths about our lives, our relationships, or our personal struggles. We'll stay in our comfort zones because confronting the truth feels far too disruptive. So, for example, how often do we blame external factors, whether it's society, past relationships, circumstances, without even acknowledging our own role in the situation? A great example of this for me is I've been really oriented towards overworking, but then I complain about how exhausted I am to those around me. And I've been working on coming to radical acceptance with the fact that I'm the one that keeps putting myself in the position where I'm working too much. So there's nothing to blame when I'm so exhausted other than myself. Some of us will tend to distract ourselves. So for me, work has been a way that I've distracted myself from maybe feeling my feelings or sitting with discomfort, or it's been a really great way to manage my stress and be productive without actually then getting clear on what kind of life or lifestyle do I want. And so a lot of times it's just to distract ourselves from sitting with that discomfort of our emotions and of getting radically real with what we actually want. Because for some reason, that's just a scary thing for a lot of us. The problem with avoidance is actually just that it keeps us stuck. So we'll feel disconnected or frustrated, unfulfilled, and we won't understand why. And it's because we're actually not dealing with the root of the issue. The comfort of delusion offers us a false sense of safety. It keeps us comfortable, but it also keeps us from evolving and creating a life that is truly aligned with our deepest values. I've really intentionally scheduled way less this year, and wow, how much discomfort I've already had to sit in with the fact that I've made a choice to work less. The work I get to do in the world gives me so much meaning and purpose, and it feels so wonderful to get to pass on remembering to people. And yet the self-care that I need right now in order to actually cultivate the life that I really want is requiring me to pull way back. Because I've gotten so clear and I've sat with what is, I really see that work is my distraction orientation. And as much as it's beautiful to help and get to sit with people and help them remember, I am having to really get clear that I matter and sitting with my own self-care matters. So I'm realigning to my deepest values. And even in doing so, even in allowing myself to sit with what is and slow down, it's uncomfortable. And I'm really excited to sit in the discomfort. But sitting with reality requires profound courage. It means facing hard truths about ourselves, our decisions, and the places in our lives where we've been avoiding responsibility. So for me, like taking care of myself, physical self-care, and being grounded, being in one state for more than 2 weeks, literally, is a big deal for me right now. And so, yeah, it's been a really wild way that I've avoided taking responsibility for the other things that I want to cultivate in my life. So ask yourself, when was the last time that you really got clear with yourself about where you are and how you got there? Or if you find yourself in a situation where you're not enjoying where you're at, how can you ask yourself, how am I responsible for the situation that I am in? And if it doesn't align to my values, what do I need to sit with long enough so that I can actually shift and create real momentum that allows me to actually honor the values that I have? Sitting with reality will often bring up feelings that we'd rather avoid. So going back to my example of getting to parent these 2 beautiful children, there's a lot of guilt and shame and fear that I've had to sit with in not knowing how to be in the role that I'm in and wanting so badly to, get it right or do it right, which I know is a really big part of me that wants to help and wants to be a positive impact. But when I can get really, really clear that those feelings are there, then I don't project them out into the space, and I can actually meet these beautiful humans in a really grounded and honest way. And I do mess up. I do make mistakes, because here's the thing. We all do. So when we allow ourselves to actually feel our emotions, we're giving ourselves an opportunity to heal them. We're giving ourselves an opportunity to not be run by them unconsciously, which honestly can look and feel really strange. And it's nice to actually be able to stop running and perpetuating the busy and the doing, and to start actually addressing those deeper wounds that keep us stuck so we can build a different foundation. My goal is that those kids know that I love them so much, that I'm there for them for whatever they need, that I am always there to help, and that I know that the situation that they're in is difficult, and at the same time, it's so beautiful, and I'm so honored. And I tell them all the time how grateful I am to get to be in their lives, because that wasn't a guarantee. And so I know that I am getting the honor of being able to be a bonus, and that's beautiful. And it allows me to build from that foundation, from that place. So that radical acceptance that we can cultivate, it isn't just about sitting with the discomfort, but it's also the gateway to creation. Really, when we accept where we are, we'll gain the clarity that we need to begin to create the life that we truly are in love with. And that's, I mean, what better thing to have in the whole wide world to actually be able to be in love with your life, to be in love with how you show up and what you get to do. I mean, I don't know if there's anything greater. So we get to stop living in the distortion, but it does take courage. It takes a lot of courage to start living in alignment with our truth. And so until we do have that courage to sit with what is, things might not always go the way we want. My favorite way to tell my clients and friends to help them build courage is to do more of what you love. So let me give you like a short story example. So I had a friend who was having difficulty in her relationship. And I've witnessed this a lot with different clients and friends. And so instead of telling her to get in there and have the hard conversation and do the hard thing, it's actually just go enjoy each other's company. What do you love to do together? What feels so fun? What have you not done in a long time that you would like to do? What can you actually orient to that fills your cup up? Because the more full you are, the easier it is to actually move from that place, to be inspired to move from that place. And that's where courage is built. And so that she can eventually get the courage to bring up the conversation she needed to have. And she did. She ended up bringing up the conversation. She ended up sharing with him that she had some needs and desires that were not being seen or met. And they're currently in a bigger conversation now about it. But she wasn't even bringing it up to him in the first place. So we can't create meaningful change without courage. So whether it's a relationship challenge or financial struggle or an internal battle, we have to be able to sit with what is, address what is, to be able to then build upon that to create a solid foundation of truth. And then once we get to actually start to build that foundation, so much is possible from that place. So this honestly is what allows us to take radical responsibility for our lives. It's what gives us the power to move forward with intention and purpose. This self-honesty, this practice of self-acceptance of what's truly happening right now. When we're clear about where we are, we can take the necessary steps to create something new. So whether that's a new version of our relationship, a new relationship altogether, a new career, a new version of ourselves, new friendships. I've had to revamp a lot of friendships because people weren't actually meeting me where I was at. They were taking me for somebody that they wanted to fix or save. And I had to get really real with, I don't need saving. I don't need anyone to save me. I've got this, and it's let me be able to build and cultivate new relationships of people who just can meet me and trust that I've got it. And I trust that they've got it. So that honesty leads to being able to take, radical responsibility for ourselves and our lives. Radical acceptance is more than just a tool for personal growth. It's a way of reclaiming, I believe, the sacredness of our lives. When we get to really sit with what is, we honor the truth of our existence. And in that truth, we find the sacredness of being human and all that means. It's so multifaceted. Sacredness isn't something that exists outside of us. It's something that we create when we align ourselves with truth, with our inner truth. When we stop avoiding all those uncomfortable parts of our reality and get really, really clear, we can create space for deeper connection, meaning, and creation. So to recap, sitting with what is through radical acceptance and honesty isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to your circumstances. It's about reclaiming your power, embracing your reality, and using that truth as actually a foundation for creation, for being able to be in choice with your life and how you're going to respond to it. So I'm going to invite you to just take some time and sit with your reality. Look at your life with as clear of eyes as you can and ask yourself some difficult questions and see if you're willing to just sit with those answers. And this is where the real growth and creation begins. This is where our lives change. This is where transformation happens. Such a blessing. And it's so much scarier before we begin. Once we really get real with what is and get really real with the situation and the multifaceted complexity of each of our lives, because I promise you, whatever it is that you're going to be sitting with to get real with, there's going to be so many layers of truth. It's not just like one truth. There's so many layers to everything that we're looking at and we're going through. So having radical acceptance and being able to move into creation, it's what life is for. Life is for creating. Life is for evolving. It's for shifting. It's for growing. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that this conversation inspired you to reflect on your own life with more honesty and courage. And remember that this journey of radical acceptance is a powerful path to reclaiming the sacredness of your life. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to leave a comment or reach out via my newsletter on Substack or Instagram. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe or leave me a review so that more people can be supported by this. I'm so excited to be sharing more tips on how to cultivate a sacred and meaningful life and to honor the fullness of our humanity, bumps, bruises, blessings, and all. So until next time, thank you so much for being here and sharing this space with me.